My favorite piece of gear I've purchased in the last couple of years is the Rode Wireless Pro. I've been using this system for about 10 months now, and it has become my go-to for capturing hands-off, high-quality audio. And don't worry, I'm not going to be letting it just hang off my shirt the whole time. I first picked up the Rode Wireless Pro to film run-and-gun interviews at LaborFest last year. I made a whole video about the workflow for that project that you can watch if you're interested. But since then, I've put a lot of hours on these things, and I've learned a lot in the process. I've used it for the things I bought them for, but I've also been surprised by the use cases where I'll reach for the Wireless Pro because it solves a problem better than another solution. The last time I made a video about the Rode Wireless Pro, a bunch of people asked me customer service style questions in the comments. I thought it was very funny that people thought I was the right person to ask. So please hit me with your very specific questions. I will answer everyone and bill Rode accordingly. There are 5 main areas where I think the Rode Wireless Pro shines, and I'm going to go through them now. Number 1, the compact podcast kit. So this is a major win, and I don't see this being talked about too much. It is so convenient to take the system anywhere and be able to record a 2-person podcast. I've done it countless times since picking these up, and I can't overstate how much better it is to just record with these than a bulkier, cablier setup. It's just easier and reduces the friction of making something, which is awesome. In addition to the Wireless Pro kit, I also bring these metal handles from Small Rig along for the speakers to hold. Yes, it's goofy looking, but I'm usually doing audio-only podcasts. A video podcast would have a nicer looking setup, and we'd probably be filming on a dedicated set anyway. For an audio-only in-person podcast with 2 speakers, this is a great travel production kit. And now that I say that out loud, it sounds incredibly niche, but it's honestly been the production scenario that has seen the most use for me in the last year. I set the custom button on the receiver to trigger record on both transmitters simultaneously. So that, coupled with the 32-bit internal recordings, make this an incredibly low-touch, worry-free podcasting setup. You're going to want your podcasting setup to be as little touch as basically no touching in any podcast. Scenario number 2, off-the-cuff interviews. The worry-free, frictionless, compact nature of this system also lends itself to some more journalistic applications. I've used the Wireless Pro to capture off-the-cuff interviews that aren't formally for a podcast or documentary, but I want the conversation to be on record for background or eventual production if needed. It's easy to ask a subject to just clip this thing to their shirt and start a conversation with them. It can be intimidating to get out a larger recorder, even if it's a handheld Zoom device or something similar. Even just adding a lav mic can make some people feel more self-conscious. For some reason, this little box is large enough to not seem sneaky, but small enough to be totally ignorable during a conversation. Scenario number 3, wedding filmmaking. Wedding filmmaking is notoriously run and gun, and so having a discreet way to record high-quality audio without worrying that you set the levels wrong is a no-brainer here. Chris and I filmed a full-length wedding documentary featuring extensive interviews last year with these things. Clip a lav mic to a lapel, drop the transmitter in a jacket pocket, and you've got great audio. Not having to deal with a bulky mic pack is awesome, and these come on and off subjects very quickly without much fuss.
It was obvious. Those 2 saw each other, found each other, and there was no holding back.
Vlogging. So I'm not much of a vlogger, but I have been filming more video with my phone lately. I was out in Colorado recently and filmed a short YouTube video on my phone while I was out in the field capturing a time lapse. I monologued to myself for a while, and when I edited into something more coherent, I was surprised by how good it sounded. So I am out in the middle of a beautiful park here in Colorado near the Rocky Mountains. If I did more direct to camera out in the field, which maybe I will do in the future, I would use the Wireless Pro a lot. And scenario number 5, documentary. I'm considering using the Wireless Pro for documentary work. For sit-down talking head interviews, I'm still going to use my Zoom F6 recorder. That handles long files better, I can rename the files, record multiple XLR inputs, etc., etc. But for on-the-move B-roll scenes, I think the Wireless Pro would shine for all the same reasons it works for wedding filmmaking. It's unobtrusive, quick to attach to a subject, and I can trigger recording from the receiver while passing the audio through to my camera. On my C70, I can record the Wireless Pro as well as a shotgun mic mounted to the camera, making for an excellent run-and-gun documentary solution. If my subject is going to interact with another person during a scene, I can quickly put the second transmitter on that person and have clean audio for everyone. I recently discovered a bonus application for documentary work as well. This is more for the super stripped down documentary kit, like if you had to fit your whole kit into a carry-on bag, but it's fun and I thought it was cool, so I'm sharing. So just like you can use other lav mics with these transmitters, and I don't think I mentioned that earlier, but you can, and that's good. You can also plug in a shotgun mic and have a wireless boom going too. They don't provide phantom power, but my trusty Sennheiser MK-E600 can be battery powered. So connect it with this XLR to 3.5mm adapter, mount it to a collapsible light stand, and you've got a super compact wireless 32-bit recording boom mic for interviews. This could also open the door to interesting field recording setups. The sky's the limit. All right, so because I'm me, I still found things to complain about with the Rode Wireless Pro. The fact that the transmitters start a new file after recording for an hour is annoying. There are no dropouts between files, which would be an absolute deal breaker, but this is frustrating and feels unprofessional. I record a lot of podcasts with these, and more often than not, we're going longer than an hour. It's not the biggest deal to sync on the back end, but it's a rough edge on an otherwise mostly smooth experience. The apps feel less than professional as well on both desktop and mobile. The desktop app honestly feels like an app adapted for mobile, and the mobile app feels underfeatured and clunky. I don't really have a great suggestion for how to improve it though, because I generally hate using apps for equipment like this, period. So I'm sorry if this comes across as a nitpick, Rode, but I feel like building up your UI, maybe adding some features, polishing it up a little bit would go a long way to making this feel like a more professional device, as the name promises. So there's no getting around it. This is a weird looking device on camera. The solution to this is simple. Just hide it in a pocket or something, the same way you'd hide a traditional mic pack. This isn't really a dig at the product itself, more so how people are using it. It does work as a handheld mic though, so I guess it would be nice if it wasn't so shiny and Rode-y. I'm not necessarily trying to advertise Rode, unless you want to, figure something out. Hit me up. And my final complaint is that attaching the included wind filter can obscure the record button on the transmitter, and it can be difficult to put the filter on. This is another minor ding against the professionalism of the Wireless Pro. I don't want to be guessing or fumbling with any equipment on set. The Rode Wireless Pro does what any good piece of gear does. It gets out of the way and reduces the unnecessary friction of making something. I am now more inclined to record something because I don't have to fiddle with mic packs, worry about setting levels, or carry and power a biggle. I'm glad I don't have to carry and power a biggle. I'm sure we can all agree that that would be a big pain in the ass. Carry and power a bigger recorder for nimble jobs. I wish I had the Wireless Pro when I was filming our picket line last summer, and going forward, it's going to be a staple in my kit. Thanks for watching.